Welcome back to the channel. We have some pretty interesting news that I want to talk about today. This infamous god whale is now participating in the Icosa. On the Icosa platform, he has staked a rather meaningful amount of hedron, and I want to tell you guys what this changes for me and what my thoughts are about this particular action. So here is a chart of Hex. And it starts almost at the very beginning of Hex. Back here is when I first got into Hex, and I bought basically down through here and up and through here, and that's where a lot of the Hex that I have now was accumulated. The God Whale came about in some of these massive price increases that were never retraced, were the God Whale buying up the price, and he became relatively famous as people looked at, what is this new account that just bought a relatively large amount of Hex? What is this account? And they found out that this person, this address, holds massive amounts of Ethereum and was in Ethereum relatively early in the project. And of course, here he is again, getting in relatively early on another project, which is of course Hex. So this guy has a history. Here is Richard Hart's a tweet from October 19th, 2020, saying the glorious Hex God Whale is back. He's bought 2.66 billion Hex so far. Look at his stake chart. He stakes for mostly 10 years, it seems. And yes, you can see on this particular chart, he has a very large amount, or a meaningful amount of his Hex is staked until 2030. And I've posted a video talking about my approach to crypto and how I want to follow the example of those that are successful. One of the common trends that I've noticed with those that have amassed large amounts of value in the crypto ecosystem, one of those trends and things that they tend to do is get in early on good projects and buy a relatively meaningful portion of supply, and then hold. And here is an example of a relatively large player getting in early again on this time the Hex project and then staking for 10 years. That is, I think, just something that I don't think should be undervalued. There's a lot of uncertainty in the beginning of projects, and someone with that much money, even though it is a relatively small portion of their total amount of money, they still win, and it was millions of dollars. Like, that is something, and they went and staked it for 10 years early on while Hex was being FUDed just as much as ever, and showed some trust in the system. And it's, I think, an example to pay attention to for one of those that has their actions have resulted in a large amount of money, basically. So this has happened, and it got the attention of Richard Hart, and it got the attention of all of us in Hex. And here is the Real God Whale's Twitter account, Team God. I think it's interesting that he doesn't post a lot. Like, if you go to just his tweet section, it's mostly just retweets. If you go to his tweets and replies, I find this really interesting. What does the God Whale talk like? What kind of person what can we find out about this God Whale from what he's, his conversation on Twitter? I find it very interesting. Look at this comment. Whoa, that's really amazing. Look at this comment here to K4K Crypto. You really make great content, my brother, so you deserve the blessings from God. Maybe it's a sign. Looking forward to your next video. Those are just the first two tweets that come up here on tweets and replies, and just look at the positivity that he's putting back out. I think it's just another example to follow, and it makes me respect him more even as a person. I think he's clearly shown himself unusual in the ability to get in early on good projects and hold, and that I think is respectable. But this makes me respect him even more as a person, that he is apparently has positivity within himself, so much so that he can project that back out on other people. even, relative to him, K4K Crypto's a great guy, but relative to the God whale, he's not that important, but the God whale is taking the time to encourage and bring some positivity back on K4K Crypto. And I think that to me is pretty cool. It's one of the observations and thoughts that I have when I'm looking at this current situation. And I really want to draw focus to this. I think this is another example to follow. Like I've also said, us that are staked in Hex, we are in this for a long period of time. There's so many of us that have also staked for 15 years because of Hedron, even more so, locking our community together. If we have to be together for 15 years, let's be people like this that are trying to be a community, be a part of the community that we want to be in, encouraging each other and trying to bring the best out of each other. And I think that it is sometimes undervalued, the importance of positivity, if nothing else, in a community that helps its own growth. And I think that's needed in our communities, and I think that it's just great that the God whale has been a good example for that. And I hope people don't overlook just this side comment about the God whale. I just really want to draw focus to that. I think it's pretty cool. So here is Silver the Antidote, and he has done a lot of chain analysis on Hedron and Icosa and Hex, and he was put out a tweet saying, hey, the God whale's back in the game again, staking 1.2 trillion Hedron. And he shows the addresses here. You can look it up if you want and find the transaction. So what was my thought when I heard that a relatively meaningful player has now joined the Icosa ecosystem? Well, honestly, my first thought was, oh boy, well, since this God whale has now staked in the Hedron staking pool, well, I guess my yield for being in that pool is going to go down a little bit. And that was a little bit of a bummer, but overall, I don't actually see it changing a lot for me. I do have some ripple effects from this that I want to talk about with you guys, but overall, I really don't see this as a long-term problem. This doesn't make me see Icosa or Hedron as something that, it's not ruined by the God whale doing this. There are people saying that this only incentivizes the trust we should have in the system because the God whale is now participating. That gives some kind of credibility, I guess, to the system. And I say, yeah, I think it does. It's a real factor that, yes, there are big players out there that haven't yet participated in this system, and now one of them is. Another thought that I have, by the way, is this particular action of a whale doing what whales do is a reason why I think short-term games are very hard. You don't know when something like this is going to happen. And if your short-term actions are ruined by this happening, you need to be really careful with the amount of your portfolio that you're setting aside to those short-term actions, because you just can't know what any other individual in the system is going to do. You just can't know that today a whale is going to, for good reason or not, do something. And it just incentivizes for me also looking at the God whale, getting in early, thinking long-term. It incentivizes to me, because of people like the God whale, I need to really be thinking long-term, because the short-term plays are susceptible to actions by other players that I can't predict and I can't control. It just reiterates to me in an example of something that's just happened for all of us recently, of why someone should be very careful when they make short-term plays. But let's look at this a little bit more. So what does this mean? Well, it means, like I said, that the Hedron staking pool, all of our ownership is down a little bit. That means that our Icosa yield is down a little bit from what it was for the same amount of Hedron staked. The amount of Icosa we get now is a little bit less. That's fine to me. It doesn't change a ton. It means that the incentive for being in this pool could arguably be a little bit less. It's not massive. You're not getting half as much. You're still getting a return. It didn't just obliterate the meaning of the pool, in my opinion, but it definitely had an impact. Similarly, the Icosa staking pool now is actually looking good, maybe even better than before. I think the dollar value for being in this pool is just greater than the dollar value for being in this pool. The amount of Icosa that you're going to get from this pool per dollar, I think is just going to be a little bit higher than in this pool. And so the people that are staked in here right now also, for example, did not have their pool ownership yet influenced by a new whale joining the system. And so that just adds a little bit of meaning for that Icosa staking pool, and it incentivizes, and it's just better for the people that are in it right now. And one other thing that I want to talk about is this We Are All the SA. This action only clarifies even further the significance and uniqueness of We Are All the SA, as there was only a 14-day period to get into this pool, so the God whale and other whales cannot influence our pool ownership. They cannot make this go down. The pool ownership for those that are in this pool can only go up. And in a sense, it just makes this pool look even more special, as it is immune to future whale actions. The only actions whales can take in this pool is selling the NFTs and their shares in the pool, which makes your share go up and your return go up. That's all they can do. They can also buy NFTs off the market if they want, but that's just ownership of the pool changing hands. The ownership is, as far as you're concerned, the same, as the pool ownership doesn't go down or up when you change hands. It's just a new person holding the same thing. And it only clarifies, like, this pool is immune to future action from whales taking out your ownership. And when something like this happens, when you have someone with over 1 trillion hedron affecting the system, you just look at, or at least I do, I just look at this We Are All the SA pool, and it just, that is not going to happen here. And that it adds some significance to this We Are All the SA pool. On top of that, I just want to talk about this. The Icosa staking pool and the Hedron staking pool get the same amount of Icosa. So when Hedron is burned, it turns into Icosa and goes into this pool and this pool. So if you owned 100% of the Icosa staking pool and 100% of the Hedron staking pool, if there was 1,000 Icosa given in a day, it goes to both pools. And it's just, I don't know if everyone realizes that, but that's, if that makes sense, that's how this works. This pool, We Are All the SA, also, if it was 1,000 Icosa given that day, it's duplicated here as well. It's really tripled. It's 1,000 goes here, 1,000 here, if it was 1,000, and 1,000 here. But We Are All the SA also gets bonuses. It gets a copy of the bonus. And so, like, your yield bonus here gets duplicated into this pool. Same with the yield bonus over here, gets duplicated in this pool. So this pool right here, really is accumulating as a whole the most Icosa of any of the pools. And on top of that, like I said, it's immune to future whale actions. Whales can only help people in this pool by selling the NFTs that they have in this pool. So that is also just interesting to me. And like I said, it just clarifies some of the value for people that are in this pool. So overall, this is really interesting. I do want to talk really quick about, what do other people think about this? Well, you can see that, where's my chart here? You can see that this is the Hedron and USDC chart about right here, when we found out that the God whale himself had staked his Hedron in Icosa. The Hedron price went down, which is what I expected to happen. I perceived people being a little bit bummed that their yield in the staking pool would go down. The incentive for being in that pool is down. And so that would encourage more supply of Hedron, and they could be perceived as a negative. But already the price is starting to come back up. It's yet to be seen how this is all going to play out. But overall, this really doesn't change a lot for me. I wouldn't be surprised if we go lower. Wouldn't be surprised if we just go right up and break all-time highs for Hedron either. I could really see a lot of things happening. But overall, like I said, I care about the long-term picture. I do not see currently this action by the God Whale as hurting Icosa or Hedron's long-term picture. It is a real part of projects. Whales can do things. A whale did something. And overall, I'm still pretty encouraged and looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with all of this over the next years. And I think this is still a very interesting project. It's still a fun project for me to follow, and I'm still looking forward to sharing all of this with you guys. Anyway, those are my initial thoughts to the big news, I guess, that has come out concerning us and our Icosa pool and our Hedron. And I'm looking forward to, like I said, continuing to share this with you guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for all the positivity that you guys have been giving me in comments. Thanks for all of your thoughtfulness, and thanks for the resourcefulness. Some of you have shown me things that I didn't know, and that I think that just helps us all, as it helps me then share with other people, and I think we're just all better for it. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day.